In the wake of 9/11, the American military budget doubled to over $700 billion. Today, it is estimated at over $1 trillion.
I've said that we need to increase the size of our military, which politically, if it got to the floor, probably would pass. But there, as you know, a whole bunch of folks on the left who think that that is a waste of money. I think it's important for us to do.
As a whole, the U.S. now spends as much on war as the rest of the world combined. An estimated 800 U.S. military bases in at least 150 countries crisscross the globe. To put these numbers in perspective, more money is now spent on air conditioning for American military personnel than the entire budget of NASA. In the halls of power, the idea of initiating significant cuts to war spending has become almost unthinkable. This film will examine the reasons why. In the case of the Congo, an estimated 8 to 10 million people had died via forced labor and murder under King Leopold of Belgium. Now, the Congolese people would be granted independence, or so they believed. The first elected prime minister was Patrice Lumumba, who had been raised in a mud brick house.
L'indépendance, aujourd'hui victorieux. Je vous salue au nom du gouvernement congolais. Nous avons connu les ironies, les insultes, les coups que nous devions subir matin, midi et soir, parce que nous étions des nègres. Qui oubliera enfin les fusillades où périt tant de nos frères, ceux qui ne voulaient plus se soumettre au régime d'injustice, d'oppression et d'exploitation.
Lumumba's speech, as well as his belief that the Congo's vast mineral wealth should belong to the people who lived there, set off alarm bells in the West. Under the auspices of the UN, the Belgians insisted on retaining a strong military presence in the country. Lumumba traveled to the United States and asked for help.
C'est avec un réel plaisir que je me trouve aujourd'hui aux États-Unis, pays de démocratie et de liberté.
Lumumba's overtures were rejected. Rebuffed by one superpower, he turned to the other. The Soviets gave only token support, but Lumumba's act of defiance was enough to sign his death warrant. After South Africa, the Congo had the largest working class in sub-Saharan Africa. If the Congo achieved real independence, it would pose a direct threat to Western business interests across the continent.
The United States deplores the unilateral action of the Soviet Union in supplying aircraft and other equipment for military purposes to the Congo. The Soviet action, which seems to be motivated entirely by the Soviet Union's political designs in Africa. I must repeat that the United States takes a most serious view of this action by the Soviet Union.
At around the same time as Eisenhower delivered his judgment, articles began appearing in the New York Times, painting Lumumba as a communist and Soviet stooge. They published a fraudulent claim that Lumumba had received $200,000 from the Belgian Communist Party, and without a hint of irony, referred to the first democratically elected leader of the Congo as a dictator. The CIA assassination plot got underway when Sidney Gottlieb, who headed up the psychochemical department of the agency's mind control experiments, carried a vial of poison to the Congo via diplomatic pouch. The plot was abandoned, however, in favor of a hit sponsored by the Belgians in collaboration with Congolese military officials. After being deposed in a coup, Lumumba and 2 of his associates were tied up and executed. Taking Lumumba's place was Joseph Mobutu. He looted an estimated $4 billion during his time in office. More importantly for the West, he allowed the continued looting of the Congo's vast mineral reserves by Western corporations. Today, the average life expectancy in the Congo is 46 years.
An iron curtain has descended across the continent. Behind that line lie all the capitals of the ancient states of Central and Eastern Europe.
In the background was the growing struggle between 2 great powers to shape the post-war world. Already an iron curtain had dropped around Poland, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria.
What about Soviet imperialism after the Second World War? That was real, but it was narrow. If you take a look at interventions after the Second World War, the Soviet Union did intervene in East Berlin, in Hungary, in Czechoslovakia, Poland, within Eastern Europe. That was their domain. They wanted to be left alone to run their own dungeon in their own domain. For the U.S., it was the rest of the world. You take a look at U.S. interventions all over the place. And the idea is, okay, we run the world, and there's a kind of like a tacit compact. We'll kind of shout at each other.
Stay out of this hemisphere, and don't try to start your plans and your conspiracies over here.
But each of us will discipline our own domains. For Russia, Eastern Europe, for the U.S., the world. And take a look at the history of the Cold War. That's what it was. It was wars against independent countries by the superpowers, almost all the U.S., because our domain is the world.
One of the most revealing passages in Churchill's memoirs describes an exchange between himself and Stalin when the 2 warlords carved up the political boundaries of Europe, not on official policy documents, but a half-sheet of paper. The moment was apt for business, Churchill wrote. So I said to Stalin, "Let us settle about our affairs in the Balkans. Your armies are in Romania and Bulgaria. How would it do for you to have 90% predominance in Romania, for us to have 90% of the say in Greece, and go 50-50 about Yugoslavia?" Stalin agreed, and kept his word.
Birmingham, where in the shadow of the Queen Victoria statue and beneath the red flag, a vast crowd listens to a fighting speech by Lord Beaverbrook.
And we believe in Stalin's